Hey, good morning. It's Uncle Lou here. Yep, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou, live for you on YouTube today. Yeah, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it also, and in addition to that as well. Up first in the superlative videos, going to be a series of videos here, 2017 SEC team superlatives. I'm going to do several of these this week. Up first, most underachieving team in the SEC this year. Now, there were several qualified candidates for this award this year. Several SEC teams had terrible years. Some had historically bad, epically bad years. But in terms of most underachieving, I had to look at where teams were picked by the majority of the media outlets preseason to finish within the conference versus where they actually finished, in addition to some other things as well. And the winner of the Uncle Lou Superlative 2017 SEC Most Underachieving Team of the Season, the Florida Gators. Really, this should be a no-brainer. Florida was picked by most people to finish second in the SEC East this year. Georgia was the favorite to win the East, but most people had Florida finishing second. I think a few people might have had South Carolina there, but the majority of people had Florida finishing second. They ended up, of course, finishing fifth. A terrible year. At one point, they lost, 4 or 5 games in a row, including back-to-back blowouts against their biggest rival, Georgia. Followed up the following week by an unexplainable blowout loss to Missouri. They lost to their in-state rival in Florida State in a year where Florida State was also epically bad, and that game wasn't even competitive. Florida was probably the 5th best team in the state of Florida this year if you look at Miami, Central Florida, South Florida, Miami, UCF, South Florida, Florida State, and then probably Miami. And you might even be able to find another team or two in Florida that could have given the Gators a run for their money. You're talking about a team that was coming off back-to-back East Division titles, finished, 5th in the East. So while there were teams that were worse than Florida record-wise, no one underachieved this year like the Florida Gators did. I mean, let's just be real. Cost a coach his job. A coach that had won the East, like I mentioned, 2 years in a row, gets fired before the season is even over. Blowout loss to Georgia. Blowout loss to Missouri. Blowout loss to a terrible Florida State team. I really don't see how anyone can debate this. The 2017 most underachieving team in the SEC, and one of the most underachieving teams in America, really. The Florida Gators. Just an embarrassment of a season, really. You know, everyone knew they were going to have some struggles at the quarterback position, a position they haven't really been able to figure out in quite some time. You have to go back almost to Tim Tebow to find a legitimate quarterback at Florida. Florida's best quarterback played for West Virginia this year. What's that joker's name? I'm drawing a blank now, but you know who I'm talking about. Anyway. So new coach coming up now for the Gators. We'll see if they can get it turned around next year. But without question, in my mind, the most underachieving team in the SEC, none other than your Florida Gators. Have a great morning.